All right, gentlemen, you received the instructions in the dressing room. You know what's expected of you. Good, clean fight. Legal punches are here on up. These are a bit high. Touch gloves, good luck to both of you.
I'm joined at ringside now by Emmanuel Stewart and HBO boxing analyst Max Kellerman, who will be with me all night for the live calls of these 4 fights. Max Kellerman, you covered Brandon Rios' triumph over Anthony Peterson recently. Tell us about him as a fighter.
He's a monster. He's an iron-willed, extremely physically strong fighter who gives you the sense that he's going to be able to overcome more talented fighters based on that physical strength and willpower. However, he comes in here fat and out of shape.
How could that be? He has spent the entire training camp, as we saw on HBO 24/7 with Antonio Margarito. And you see what kind of condition Margarito appears to be in coming into tonight. How could Rios look like this?
It must be diet. The only thing I can think is diet. And, you know, it's got some very savage fighters who are in incredible shape when it counted
Hands
most.
free. Punch out of there. Let him go now.
But were frequently in non-title bouts out of shape come to mind, like Roberto Duran at lightweight, for instance. And maybe he's one of these types and just doesn't take this opponent very seriously.
Well, the one thing about Rios is a solid amateur background, and he's such a strong-willed person that a lot of times fighting on this level, this competition right here, he'll probably be able to survive maybe the lack of probably get through.
His fight against Peterson was less than 2 months ago. Was he significantly more well-defined in that fight,
yes.
Max?
Yes, he was. He had a star-turning performance against Peterson. Rios
Punch out there. Hands are free. Punch out.
Lowther had a chance to back out of the fight yesterday, Emmanuel, when Rios had so much difficulty making weight. Probably it wasn't such a bad deal, though, to take the extra $5 grand.
Well, especially when you're fighting on this level here, you know, it's a lot of money for a fighter to get $5,000 in addition to the purse. And so it's still, I think, a good fight for him, and it's a fight that possibly he could win, but I don't know. The way he's fighting, it's like he's a little unsure of himself.
If you followed HBO boxing over the course of the past couple of years, you've probably caught the story of Victor Ortiz. Ortiz, once an abandoned child in Garden City, Kansas, has risen from obscurity to become a world-class contender at 140 pounds, at least in the eyes of the promoter. He had one significant setback, a loss to Marcos Maidan. A proven big punch we'll see on December against Amir Khan. But Rios actually knows Ortiz well because he's from Garden City, Kansas. And Keller, there's no tremendous love lost between the two.
There's a real grudge that Rios held against Ortiz. They were roommates for a while. That didn't go well. And Rios would like nothing more than to get Ortiz in the ring. Rios showed his aggression in the first round. Sometimes effective. And that's one of them.
No hagas caso a... Okay. No hagas caso al público.
Don't pay attention to the crowd, okay?
Take a deep breath. Okay? You're looking for just one punch. I want you to lose for combination, okay? Head movement, work your way in, and start up with the body, okay? Body, and then uppercut, okay?
You stand on the ropes. Huh? Close round. Hey, you stand on the ropes too much. Okay? Beautiful work. Use my jab, use some more feints, Make sure when you tie him up, you got both hands, not just one. All right? Let's go to work. He's good.
Round one was pretty even, particularly numerically. By CompuBox count, Rios was 16 of 56. Lowther was 15 of 57. Harold Letterman gave the first round to Omri Lowter from Toronto. Good body shot by Lowther with the right hand, and he ducks under Rios' left to get out of the corner.
Stop. Break. Here we go. Box.
Rios trying to dig to the body. Gets in a couple of shots there. Lowter with a left hook upstairs. You can see the greater strength of Rios as he backs Lowter into corners and tries to devastate him to the body. Lowter is counterpunching upstairs and moving away.
Lowther's counterpunching and boxing good, but it seems like he's just not solid in terms of his mental makeup or physically. And I think it's going to be a matter of time before Rios knocks him out.
Look at those left hooks to the body.
Well-placed punches.
And this is really not a very good version of Brandon Rios. This is probably the worst version that you're likely to see. At least I hope it is. He's not attacking with the same ferocity he did against Peterson, not as accurate.
And to be fair, he was training for a fight in December. He took this on 8 days' notice. Both Rios and Lowter coming into this at the last minute after Kelly Pavlik, who was expected to be on this undercard against Brian Vera, fell out.
Fighters like Rios and also James Kirkland fight with such abandon and are so physically hard, although maybe not in this case of Rios.
Well, I say more so than physical, mentally.
So determined,
Very determined, yeah.
that, but that kind of makeup, they're so determined, it's almost as though there's something wrong with them. And you just hope that they accomplish what they should in the ring before they self-destruct outside of it.
Lowter has landed a couple of left hooks right on the button in this round. They have zero effect on Rios, who's walking right through them.
Rios is doing exactly that. He's walking right through it, and his punches have all of the power. And the thing about it, Lowter doesn't know how to clinch. So once he gets hurt, he's going to be in very serious trouble.
Listen for the bell. Time.
Use your legs. Use more faith. Okay, use the faith. Use the faith. Clean up shit off the ropes, all right? Clean it up. Use the leg. Stop trying to fight with this guy. All right? That's not our game. Touch and move.
Yeah, all right? And then once you get him in the ropes, then start with the body shots, uppercuts, and then go upstairs, all right? Because you start upstairs, you made him miss, all right? Okay? Breathe.
You got him. Breathe it up deep. Come on. Good.
Yeah, relax.
One
You
at a
good?
time.
How's this punch? No? You good?
Time.
All right, then. I still don't want you to fucking lose your head, right? Be relaxed. Hands up high. A lot of head movement. A lot of head movement. So move your...
Well, CompuBox assesses that in round two, Brandon Rios stepped up the pace. 36 out of 85 in round two. Very good round statistically, 42%. And Lowter was 21 out of 72. Similar, but slightly more active than was the case in round one. This fight is scheduled for 12 rounds.
Hands are free. Punch out of there. Let him go on me. Let him go. Hands are free. There you go.
So Rios has 12 full rounds in which to, well, up, scheduled for 10 rounds. My bout sheet is incorrect. Sorry about that. Oops. So the fight is scheduled for 10 rounds, and Rios will be looking to crank up the body punishment through all 10. Again, both fighters coming in with only 8 days' notice in this fight. Right hand over the top by Lowter, and yet another example of how easily Brandon Rios is simply walking through Lowter's
He's walking through him, and he's getting closer and closer, and Omri is trying to find some space, but there's no space for him right now.
Get your arm out of there. Punch out. There we go.
He doesn't have the punching power. He needs to sometimes, if he could, settle down and land a solid punch to get a little respect. But right now, between rounds, I watched Rios' corner ask him, what about the punching power? Lowter, he said it's nothing. Basically, that means he's going to keep this pressure on him continually because he has no respect for Lowter's punching power.
You heard Max Kellerman in round one say Rios is a monster. And now you're beginning to see what Max was talking about as Rios walks through everything Lowther throws and keeps the pressure on.
Well, I was going to say it earlier, the amateur background and then the mindset, he's mentally a tough person. So even in shape, he's still too much of this man up here tonight.
And incidentally, all the difficulty he had making weight for the fight suggests that conceivably he could go up to 140, although I'm sure Rios would probably tell us tonight, I'm still a lightweight. I just wasn't really ready for the fight.
I believe he's a lightweight. It doesn't, you know, oftentimes when you have a training camp with a big fighter like Margarito, so much focus on Margarito himself. But the other guys in the camp a lot of times get up and they cheat and they get away without training properly.
Punch, break. Bring him up a little, Brandon. Here you go. Box.
You see the CompuBox count of total punches landed in the round. And the numbers are really beginning to mount for Rios. Admittedly, not every one of his landed punches is a big shot. Some of them are just touches. But the constant, relentless throwing, the pressure, the absolute complete lack of care as to whether he gets hit. He's not at all concerned about Lowther's punches. Lowther landed a perfect right hand, and Rios grins at him. About 1 hour ago, Antonio Margarito arrived. Note the beard. Manny Pacquiao's trainer, Freddie Roach, wanted to ask the Texas State Commission to have that beard shaved. And Roach informed his fighter, Manny Pacquiao, that he would go to the rules meeting and demand exactly that. Pacquiao said, wait a minute, don't do it. Roach said, what are you talking about? Pacquiao said, I want to use the beard as a target. I'm not concerned about any padding it creates. I like it as a target. Let him keep it. Freddie said, well, if that's what you want, that's what you get. I'm not going to argue with the fighter.
Manny Pacquiao is a true fighter.
It's been a glorious experience for Margarito to be back in a big fight environment. He weighs 165 pounds unofficially as he enters the arena tonight, weighing in at 150 yesterday, going up 15 pounds overnight. Pacquiao has gone up a few pounds to 148. That represents a rise of 3.4 pounds since yesterday. Overall, the functional weight difference in the ring tonight in the main event will be 17 pounds for Margarito. Harold, how do you have this through three?
Okay, Jim, 2 rounds to 1, 29-28. Brandon Rios. You know, Jim, in round one, Omri Lowter did a real nice job offsetting Brandon Rios. Brandon's a slow starter, and Omri landed some real good shots. He was laying on the ropes, punched well off the ropes, but in rounds 2 and 3, Brandon Rios really got into his game. He picked up the level of his game. He took Omri Lowter into the ropes, banged him with hard left hands, with straight right hands. I mean, he hit him with everything but the kitchen sink. And to put a little addition onto it, he whacked him with a left hook about 3 feet low. Just to slow up Lowter a bit. Anyway, 2 rounds to 1, Brandon Rios.
Rios continuing to keep the pressure on here in round 4. It's becoming a little bit more pronounced with each passing minute. He stalks. Lowther tries to counterpunch his way out of trouble. As Emmanuel has pointed out, he doesn't hold.
Let him go. Get your arm out of there.
Rios looking for the straightest line between him and Lowther at all times.
And for a young fighter, he set a perfect example of how to cut the ring off an opponent. Meaning Rios. He's cutting the ring off, crowding his opponent. A lot of pressure, keeping his hands close to himself, which makes it difficult for Lowther to tie him up.
Rios ate another perfect right hand from Lowther and barely flinched. Keeps coming with the body shots. Rios is so hungry to land the left hook to the body that he exposes the left side of his chin to Lowther almost constantly. Lowther hits it with his right hand and nothing happens.
You know, it seems to be a big difference in the weight or the strength of the guys. I was talking about Rios' mental strength and toughness, but also seems physical, like it's about 8 or 10 pounds different, natural size.
Well, in fact, the weight difference in the ring is more than 10 pounds. Rios rehydrated to 137, or excuse me, 157. Lowther to only 148. So it's a 9-pound functional weight difference, Emmanuel.
Listen for the bell.
4 rounds in, and Rios grinning more pronouncedly at the end of every round.
And Lowter is very shaky on his legs going to the corner.
All right, you look too heavy, too slow. Okay? Okay. I want to get some more rhythm. Come on, all right? Get some more rhythm, get some more combinations, not just one punch at a time. All right? You're landing good punches, but you look too heavy.
I think they're stopping the fight.
Southward, yeah. But there's a lot of times where, even though, he's right down the road, he could easily be working top 3.
You think Lowther's corner's talking about stopping the fight, Emmanuel?
If I was in that corner, I would stop it. The way his legs were back at the end of the round, she's shaking on his legs. He can't do anything to hurt his opponent, and it's going to get worse.
Trainer in Lowther's corner is Omar Johnson. They come out of Toronto, not particularly familiar here in the USA. Rios is being trained by Robert Garcia, and when Rios was added to the card, trainer Garcia asked that he be placed in the first of the 4 pay-per-view fights so that he has plenty of time in the 2 intervening fights to go back to the dressing room and take care of his primary business for the evening, Antonio Margarito.
Stop! Break! I got you guys. Here we go. Box. Stop! No punch. Here we go. Break! Box. Get your arm out of there. Let him go, Brandon. Let him go. Get your arm out of there, Omri. Get your arm out of there. Stop! Box. No, hit me on the back, gentlemen.
More of the same here in round 5 of Schedule 10 between Brandon Rios in the brown trunks and Omri Lowter of Toronto in the red. Now Lowther's right eye is beginning to swell just a little bit from the left hooks from Rios. That was a tremendous shot by Rios that has wobbled Lowter, and now Lowter shows you that he can clinch as he grabs Rios' right arm and holds on. Rios is landing upstairs and to the body now, cleanly and effectively. And maybe you were right, Emmanuel.
They shouldn't have let him come out for this last round, especially when the fighters here in his corner talk about whether we should quit it or not, stop it. I mean, it takes
Lowter has no legs, and the referee's going to stop the fight.
Very good stoppage.
Raul Calles Jr. from California steps in with an effective stoppage and prevents more punishment to Omri Lowter. Brandon Rios has another victory to move to 26-0-1.
What I liked about that is there wasn't going to be necessarily an obvious moment for a stoppage, so eventually the ref just has to get in and say, it's just enough of this.
Yeah, it was going to be one-sided. Even though Lowter was landing punches, it had no effect. And you can see the other guy was just physically and mentally too strong.
We've seen so many referees who would have allowed that to go on for 4 or 5 more rounds.
Right. And bad stuff happens.
Call, very good call by the referee.
Particularly in a fight where both guys were thrown in on short notice because somebody else fell out. I don't know if Calles was sensitive to that, but that's yet another good reason to do what he just did.
But at least Rios was in a training camp, and he had that great amateur experience. So he may not have been the best of shape and a little bit heavier, but he was in better prepared than Lowter.
Those are the 2 punches that created the wobbly legs and put Lowter in jeopardy early in the round. And then, Emmanuel, let's just follow the continuation.
Right here was just a matter of a follow-through with a lot of short punches. And being that Lowter didn't have the punching power to hold him off or get respect, it was just a matter of time. All of those are very short, accurate, pinpoint punches.
And that's where Calles said, I've seen enough of this to know what's going to happen. Victory for Brandon Rios. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on the knockout.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Raul Caiz Jr. calls a halt to the contest. The official time, 2 minutes, 17 seconds of round number 5. The winner by TKO victory, still undefeated from Oxnard, California. Bam Bam, Brandon Rios.